I would like you all to take a moment to look down at your shoes. What do you see? What do your shoes say about you? Are they practical, stylish, comfortable? Good afternoon. I am both excited and empowered to be here with you today. Excited because I get to share with you my recent experiences in Kenya, and empowered. Firstly, to relate how these experiences have had a life-changing impact on me. And secondly, to invite you to think differently about shoes and their role in a person's quality of life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Shoes? Really? Well, I would like you to consider how shoes are not just a fashion statement, but rather how they can be a vehicle for powerful social change. Now, raise your hand if you came to this conference barefoot. No one. We all have something in common. We all have some sort of footwear on. In fact, some of us take our shoes quite seriously. Take a look at the shoe collection, for example. While this may be familiar for some, even extreme for others, I am here to talk to you about a very real problem in our world today. A problem that affects more than 2.4 million people out of the less than 50 million people that live in Kenya, with another 10 million at risk. It is one of the most debilitating medical conditions, not only in sub-Saharan Africa, but in over 80 countries worldwide. The majority affected are children between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. The culprit starts off virtually invisible, yet its impact is enormous. It prevents millions from attending school and makes walking painful and unbearable. Today, I will convince you how a simple pair of shoes can be a small glimmer of hope in the lives of children worldwide. One of the things I love to do when I travel is take photos. Here's a photo I took in the Mathare slums of Kenya. Over 500,000 people live here in extreme poverty, with limited access to food, clean water, healthcare, and education. Electricity is scarce, and gang violence is now a growing problem. Most of the population live on an income of less than $1 a day. Imagine that. Ranging from ages 2 to 6, I found these children playing outside one of the slum alleys. They were playing house, as young children typically do. Notice the roof of the house is a red tarp. Notice the little girl holding on to the pole with a scarf on her head playing mother. Notice the father bringing home firewood. And notice the young boy on the left pretending to be the neighbor knocking on the door. Now take a closer look. Notice how every single child in this photo is barefoot. Through their innocence and through no fault of their own, each and every single one of these children are now potentially doomed to a life full of disease, disability, and hardship. All of this because they do not own a simple pair of shoes. Now, let me introduce you to the female Tungiasis flea. She is a parasite that lurks in sandy, dusty regions where cleanliness and hygiene are a problem. She causes an infection called Tungiasis, more commonly known as jiggers, in her unsuspecting hosts. Just what are jiggers? The female jigger flea is very small and lives only a few centimeters under the surface of the sand. When she infects her host, the infection starts off so small, it's nearly invisible. Just like when we get a mosquito bite or a small cut, we rarely think much of it. She burrows deep into the skin and latches onto blood vessels. Her point of entry is usually the feet, oftentimes between the toes near the plantar surface of the foot. After a few days, the jigger swells up to 2,000 times its original size. 2,000 times. Take a moment to observe this photo. Notice the jigger on the right starting its burrow into the skin. Now take a look at the jigger on the left and how big it's gotten after feeding onto its host. Now, with jiggers when jiggers infect the host, the infection starts off so small it's nearly invisible. Now, with jiggers, they can infect family members, communities, and schools. This is particularly common in the slums, where many people live together in one small dwelling. Jiggers causes inflammation, which is extremely itchy and painful. Bad cases of jiggers make it hard to work, walk, and pay attention in school. Jigger sends a person on a steep downward spiral. After destroying their skin and drinking their blood, jiggers weaken their victim. Bad cases lead to gangrene, amputation, and secondary infections. With jiggers, children stop walking to school as it is too painful. Infected adults can't provide for their families. Elderly victims become captives in their homes with feelings of isolation, loneliness, and depression. Although jiggers is such a complex and widespread issue, its solution is quite simple and can change the lives of millions worldwide. As an optimist, this drove my inspiration to find a way of taking action. Leading up to my trip to Kenya, I collected many donations to take with me through the generosity of local soccer clubs and businesses. In fact, I took with me 7 suitcases packed with these donations. These included things like soccer cleats, shoes, jerseys, shorts, and soccer balls. With these in hand, I visited 2 orphanages and 1 school in Soweto, another slum district in Kenya. While I was there, I was able to outfit some of the children with soccer cleats and jerseys. Never before had I seen children so grateful. They had so little, yet they were so thankful. I also really enjoyed playing soccer with them. However, this interaction sparked many more questions. I soon discovered that many of these children either had jiggers or were at a risk of getting jiggers simply because they did not own any shoes or because their shoes were of such poor quality they had holes in them. I did not think it was fair that these young children were at a risk of getting jiggers simply because of their poor living condition. Simple daily chores like getting clean water is so much harder without proper shoes on. For me, that day, shoes took on a whole new meaning. Did you know that 150 Kenyan shillings, or just 2 Canadian dollars, can cure 1 child's case of jiggers? When I returned home to Canada, I took immediate action by creating an anti-jiggers campaign in Kenya. Through rallying funds here and aligning with health clinics in Kenya, I've already sent over $500 in aid. Our campaign focuses on bringing hope to children affected like the ones in this slide whose hands and feet have been infected with jiggers. The money also goes towards educating young children on how to stay jiggers free. Let me take you through the eradication process of removing jiggers from children's feet. Firstly, buckets of potassium permanganate solution are prepared. For those of you who don't know what potassium permanganate is, it's a low-cost and effective antiseptic and fungicide. After that, children are instructed to soak their feet in this solution for 15 minutes. This deprives the jigger of oxygen, which makes it a lot easier for their removal. Next, trained volunteers use sterile and sharp instruments to remove the jiggers and dead skin from the children's feet. After that, the children's feet are allowed to air dry. Finally, Vaseline is applied to the skin to help it heal. However, ladies and gentlemen, that's not it. After that, children are outfitted with a new pair of shoes. Next, they're given a care package to take home to their family. This includes things like flour, oil, and other toiletries like toothbrushes and toothpaste. All of this will help support their family. A celebration follows that includes laughter, music, food, and even cake. This ensures that children feel valued, cared for, and reassured after overcoming this harmful parasite. Ladies and gentlemen, shoes change lives. Take a look at the photo I took on the left with children holding up their newly fitted pair of shoes. However, this is only one small part of the long-term solution. While many drugs have been tested, no widespread drug has yet been proven as effective. Communities need to come together for prevention, education, and treatment. This is why our campaign is so effective. It enables children to prevent jiggers, it educates them on how to stay jiggers free, and it removes the jiggers from children's feet, which is the treatment aspect. A few weeks after I returned home to Canada, a couple of the children that I helped sent me a poster thanking me for all the work that I did. This only reminded me that we have so much more work to do. I was truly touched. I would like to conclude with a photo of me and a little boy named Junior. Look at the hope and the joy in his eyes, and realize how much a simple pair of shoes can do in the life of a child. Ladies and gentlemen, shoes are not new. We take them for granted here in Canada, and rarely do we express our gratitude for them. Let's start to think about them differently. So, I'll ask you one more time. Take a moment to look down at your shoes. Now, what do you see? Thank you.